It's a beautiful summer's day here in sunny Los Angeles, and we are at Sunset Sound, which of course is on Sunset Boulevard here in West Hollywood. So we're going to go in and check out this beautiful studio, which is built 1962. So let's check it out. All right, we're going to walk into Studio 1 here at Sunset Sound. There's lots of these golden and platinum records. So this is Craig, he's the manager and runs this place. How long have you been here?
32 years in September.
Wow. Were any of these consoles put in under your tenure?
Yes, this one was.
So when did this get put in?
This one was put in May of 84.
84.
It took us 3.5 years to build it over in the duplex next door.
Crazy.
With a team of designers and assembly people.
I mean, this is one of, I don't say this lightly, this is one of the best sounding consoles in the world.
Well, the original one in here, which I think was also a Bushnell API custom job, basically it had 24 channels in it, I believe. Maybe it had 32, I can't remember. And the idea when we built this console was to add another 24, it must have been 32, was to add another 24 channels without increasing the noise floor a fraction of a dB.
Oh, wow.
That was the engineering challenge. So basically we ended up with a board whose noise floor is only 3 dB above the noise of the resistors.
Oh, wow. That's great.
Yeah.
Especially, you know, back in the day, as they say.
Yeah.
Which doesn't seem that long ago, does it really?
Originally, though, this thing had a logic control system similar to SSL. One iteration of this board. And it got so elaborate that the chief tech at the time, Eric Benton, told the designers, he said, well, all this software stuff is all proprietary, you know, one-off for this console is all well and good.
Right.
But when you people leave and are done, I have to fix it.
Sure.
So we actually scaled it back from the way it was to the form it is presently.
Which is great, because this and Studio 3, which has a similar console, which we'll look at in a minute, are probably two of the most intuitive consoles I've ever used.
Yeah, well, they're pretty simple. I mean, they're almost like straight lines.
I didn't want to say simple, because that pretty much shows that I am quite simple.
Though, I mean, yeah, but I'll tell you, the modules in these are far more complicated than what's in Studio 3.
Oh, they are?
Oh, yeah. I mean, this whole thing is built up with 990 op amps and, you know, every channel block. There's probably, 4 or 6 of them in each one.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Times 64, because the consolette here was the prototype for this board. It was built on that scale to test, you know,
the little sidecar
proof of concept.
Right.
And then once that worked, we went, you know, for this.
Yeah, I've only ever rough mixed on this one, so I haven't really put it through its paces. But I've tracked in here over the years quite a lot. What I love about the room in particular is there's all these random kind of bass lifts. Like if you put a mic on from the control room glass facing the drum kit, there's this huge bottom end lift that just makes the kick sing.
Right.
It's a really unique room, and this console's phenomenal. I will say there's a lot of warmth out of this console.
Well, yeah, I mean it's everyone describes it as being fat.
Yeah, it's really fat.
Very fat. Yeah. But we made some changes over the years. When this thing was originally built, that was it only had 2 buses per channel.
Really?
Because at the time, all the engineers working here that were consulted in this, now this is like the early 80s or even late 70s. Oh, that's all you need.
Right.
So then it became apparent after a few years, as things changed, that, well, we better go. So we better raise it. So do we go to 4, 8, and then we settled on 16.
Wow. And
that was just retroactively added.
So this console just basically has evolved over the years.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, obviously there's some beautiful things here. You got the 550As, which is wonderful. Sunset mic pre's, they're a Jensen transformer, that's correct, isn't it?
Yeah, those are 990s. Yeah. Well, transformers and 990 op amps.
But they're different to the ones in Studio 3?
No.
Okay, good.
The ones in 3 now are the same as these.
Great. Yeah, they sound fantastic. And then you've got bus ends up here. I like this being on fader. This is really, faders are a lot more intuitive for me, at least, than rotary controls.
There's an interesting story about the 3-inch faders.
Right.
Those are Penny and
P&Gs.
Giles.
Yeah. Nice.
But they didn't have those as stock. And
they didn't?
They custom made those for us.
Wow.
And they were like, what do you want a 3-inch fader for? But anyway, that's what we spec'd. And now, after they made them for us, it became a standard stock item for them.
Oh, it did.
Other people. Yeah.
See, Penny and Giles, for those who don't know, are pretty much every major console manufacturer. It's an English company.
The Cadillac of faders.
As complicated as it may look, it's actually a very intuitive, very easy to use console. Sure. Beautiful sounding EQs. The thing about having API or Neve style EQs is you've really got a place you can always go to. You've got a familiarity of EQ where you boost something at 5 or 7K and it just sounds musical. Yeah, really nice. So what do you got up here? You've got some NS10s. This is Joe's thing, isn't it? He loves putting the paper around.
Yeah, I think he did that.
Yeah.
And then those are his speakers. Yeah.
These are Joe Ciccarelli's. They're acoustic engineering. I don't know these.
Oh, these are the new ones he bought. Right. He added these. He used to have his Tannoys.
Yeah.
And then he tried these, and then these became now his reference.
Nice. Wow, and then of course all this outboard here, which is often here, but a lot of it belongs to Joe, is pretty insane. Love the fact that he has a space echo. We've got some great EQs going on in here. So he uses a 2500 compressor. Oh, here's a purple 1176. These are wonderful. I really like Dakin's compressors. There's some wonderful stuff here. EMIs. And then this is all the Sunset stuff, which I get to use all the time. This is probably the most famous kick-in compressor ever. Everybody uses it. LA3As are amazing on guitars. I was working here with Sardi when I discovered that, back in the olden days of like the early 2000s. He always loved those LA3As on guitars. Got some original Pultecs, which of course is beautiful. The 900 series DBX, I remember those well. And of course 160s, which are still some of the best sounding compressors ever. And the VCAs from 160s are the same VCAs that are in SSLs. LA2As, yeah, great stuff. And of course an H3000, can't leave home without it. Some great old stuff here, some AMS, which of course is still probably some of the best reverb delays ever made. These are wonderful. This is the sound of the Smiths, for those aficionados that like Smiths. The RDE 3000, I believe, is How Soon Is Now guitar sound. So one of those going to 2 Voxes, doing the pan, doing for the tremolo effect. Is one of those. Great. SPX 90, Andy Wallace has never mixed a song without one of these. Every studio has to have one. They're pretty inexpensive these days, but they sound phenomenal. Of course, the Lexicons. I have one of these. They're wonderful. I don't know the timeline. I've never actually used this, but I hear these are great.
Those are the synchronizers, the link synchronizers.
I hear they're amazing. Of course, this must be Joe's, the Shadow Hills.
Shadow Hills, yeah.
What's he using this on? On the Master Bass?
I think so. Yeah, when he mixes.
And the Clariphonic. These I have yet to use, but everybody uses this stuff. Just flips out about how amazing it is. So
the rest of that stuff is ours. That and the
this
Neve and the center stuff here, and then that's Joe's stuff there.
Great
on the left.
Well, the EMI Chandler stuff is or Chandler stuff is amazing, of course. And you can't leave home without 33609. These are yours as well. These are beautiful. Yeah. These have probably been here for time immemorial.
176s, yeah.
The precursor to the 1176. The Blue Stripe 1176, the famous blue stripe that all the snobs love. Fantastic. 1178, always liked these. These used to go for really, really cheap, but they're really great. Great on rooms. Yeah, fantastic. And this is all his stuff here. See some extra APIs. Radial stuff is really great. It's the Sunset Sound mic pre's that I'm hoping to get a really
500 series.
Get a really good deal on from Craig over here.
You haven't asked me.
I know, but I'm about to. Ah, nice.
In fact, Joe had, since he helped do the evaluation on those, he has numbers 1 and 2.
Of course he does.
And those are the 50th. That was among the first 50 batch, the special anniversary edition, where it has the original 990 op amps. Now we have to use 990Cs because they don't make the originals anymore. Yeah. But John Hardy was able to scrounge up like, X number of them for the first 50 that we ran.
Oh, wow.
Because that's what's in, these older ones here. It's essentially what's in our consoles, except adapted for, a 500, power supply.
Which is great, because, they're basically the size of a 500 anyway.
Mm-hmm.
That's wonderful. See, I was looking at it going, what's all this, and I looked down, there it is, Sunset Sound. Logo and all.
We call it the Tootie.
Why the Tootie?
Well, Paul's dad, Tootie Camerata.
Oh, that was his nickname?
Yeah. Salvador Tootie was his nickname, yeah. So we were thinking, what do we call this thing? We didn't want to give it a numerical designation.
The Q1572.
So I told one of the designers, I said, why don't we just call it the Tootie?
Nice.
And then everyone was like, yeah, let's do that.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love the fact it's got a trim and a fader out.
Yeah.
Smart.
Well, those were added because of, the way they're used, for basically the project studio level.
It's fantastic.
Applications, yeah.
So this is Studio One. Craig, name drop some people who've recorded it in here.
Oh, this is the original room of the facility, so it dates back to the late 50s. Everything, well, we did a lot of Disney stuff in the beginning, because Tootie was the musical director for Walt Disney.
I remember you telling me that.
And so the first 3 or 4 years, it was all almost exclusively Disney products for film and animation, like
Wonderful.
Mary Poppins and Bedknobs and Broomsticks and
all the classics.
Whatever else they did during that period, yeah.
Oh,
and we
great.
continued to do that into the early, mid 60s, whatever. But then we ended up, when we started hiring assistant engineers, they started bringing in rock bands. And that's how we kind of
make some extra cash.
Right. Yeah, the guys were, had their fill of, Goofy and whatever the Disney characters are. Yeah, so...
this is a wonderful sounding room.
So this is like the room that, Paul Rothschild started coming into with Bruce Botnick, who was like our first assistant engineer Sunset ever had.
Bruce was an assistant engineer
on
here.
Staff, yeah.
I've said this many times, and I've ever said it on camera. I think Bruce Botnick is, he's the Jeff Emmerich of America.
Yeah.
It's like, we have Jeff Emmerich, who's lauded as being one of the most influential, probably one of the most creative engineers in England, which I think he was. Botnick, when you listen to like a Doors record, listen to a song like Peace Frog or something like that, the drums sound like they were recorded yesterday.
Yeah.
They're so like in phase and smack you in the head and percussive, and he really was a rare talent.
Yes.
I hear he mixes like film stuff now.
That's all he does. I think that's primarily what he does now. He's a film scoring engineer and film mix.
I think his ears were just the best.
He moved beyond rock and roll years ago.
If you listen to Forever Changes, were Forever Changes done in this room?
I believe so, yeah.
The Love album.
Yeah.
Check out Forever Changes by Love. That is one of the best-selling records ever recorded.
And then there were 4 or 5 of the Doors records done in here, and Janis Joplin and Pearl. And
Oh, Pearl was done in this room?
Yeah. She was working here at the time she passed away.
I remember you telling me, that's crazy.
They were waiting on her to show up for a session, and she didn't show up, so we sent the assistant engineer over to the hotel, and when they keyed in, that's when they found her.
Oh, terrible.
On the floor, so...
And then the Stones did some overdubs here.
This was Exile on Main Street, Let It Bleed.
Love Let It Bleed.
And one other one. After all these years, I still draw blanks, when people put...
And then Zeppelin, I think people want to know about Zeppelin, what did they do?
Yeah, that was 2 and 4. I think those were done in 2.
Oh, those were done in 2?
Yeah. Stairway to Heaven was cut in 2.
All right, we're going to go...
they might have cut... they moved around between rooms.
Right.
So,
Well, we'll talk about Stairway to Heaven when we're in 2.
I'd have to go up and dig all the work orders out to be absolutely sure. Yeah, we still have every work order we've ever done.
Oh.
Since 1958.
When's that book coming out? When's that book coming out?
You should see them up there, though. It's just boxes and boxes of them.
But can you imagine that book?
But I'll tell you,
photos of the sessions
you
with the
wouldn't
work
believe
orders.
how many legal cases those work orders have won for people over the years.
What's interesting about this, now you can give us a bit of history, the floor is very uneven, and that is because...
It used to be a car repair garage.
So the oil was
So the
flat.
drain was over in that corner, and everything slants to that corner.
Yes.
So the rooms are naturally non-parallel.
So you don't get standing waves.
Right.
Because there's no...
And I think that's why Tootie picked it.
Yeah, it's
was
smart.
because you didn't have to do a lot of work.
It's probably hard to see you specifically on camera, but the ceiling is higher on the left here than it is on the right.
Look at the wooden slats, how they get bigger as you go this way.
And people always ask me about room treatment and stuff like that. Well, room is pretty naturally treated. There's flat surfaces, but it's broken up in random ways, and there's no exact. You're not going to get standing wave issues.
No. And this floor sits on the foundation.
Oh yeah,
It's not
solid.
And right above that is the outside roof. So
right.
If we get helicopter flyovers at low levels, you can hear them in this room.
Good.
It's not super soundproof. Yeah.
It's phenomenal.
It's happened.
And then this is one of the booths.
What's actually regarded as the world's first vocal ISO booth.
Oh wow!
When we were back in the late 50s, we did everything in mono. We started before there was stereo.
Oh wow!
So Tootie, when he was doing the Disney stuff, he one time asked the engineer, who may have been like Val Valentin or somebody like that.
Right.
It'd be great if we could just put the vocalist in a separate area, no bleed into because everything had to be done live. The band here, the horns and strings in the back room.
4-track?
2? Mono.
Oh, mono.
It was mono. We had mono tape machines. Yeah. So everything had to go down live. So he told the guy...
Had to use real musicians.
Yeah. He said, is there some way we can partition her off or whatever? And that's kind of how this was born. And so Annette Funicello and those folks from Disney and Kurt Russell and God knows who, they would go in here and sing just to keep the leakage out with the band. Even though it was being mixed live, at least the vocal was pure without ambience in it. Yeah.
I love that stuff. We don't realize how recent it is. It's like when you hear the story about Jeff Emmerich having to ask the Abbey Road management if it was okay to put a mic inside of a kick drum.
Yeah.
And that was in the 60s. It wasn't that long ago, revolutionary stuff, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So this is the vocal booth. It's actually quite large. I mean, you could do super dead 70s type drums in here.
Yeah, they put guitars.
Yeah, I've had guitars.
Horns, like a trio, whatever in here. Yeah.
Yeah, horns could be great in here if you want to super.
And you can take the carpet up, and it's
right.
More ambient.
And then there's another one down the bottom where the piano is. A lot of storage in here at the moment, but yeah, you could.
Oh yeah, this is Catfish and the Bottlemen. They worked here last week. They're loading their stuff out today. Sardi was working on that.
Oh, it was good.
Yeah.
So this is actually a decent sized room. This is probably as big as my live room in my house.
Yeah, well, they used to call this originally the string room. Because when we did everything live in mono, they put the string people back here to isolate them from the rhythm section.
Oh, wow.
And so it seemed logical once we did that for someone to say, why don't we do it to the vocalist?
Yeah.
And then that's how that got born.
Nice.
Yeah. This was not considered an isolation booth. It was just considered, at that time, another room. It didn't have the official designation.
I would do drums in here all day if this is all I had.
Do them in here.
Yeah, but if this is all I had, I'd be happy. I mean, it's a good sized room. There's a beautiful piano. That's the Steinway.
They're all Steinways,
And what's do you know any of the history of this piano?
Anywhere from 1911 to 1921.
Wow.
I mean, they're old. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, I've used this one a lot. I think the 1 in 3 is the one I've used most.
Yeah. Well, these have all taken a lot of abuse over the years from rock and rollers, you know, pound, pound, pound.
Well, we're reinforcing our guitar chords with octaves on the low.
Yeah.
Do that a lot. Let's move to 2. Now, I think most people, if they're significantly younger than you and I, will think of this room probably because of the Dixie Chicks.
Oh, God.
Well, because there's a lot of video footage from that with Jim.
And the film that was made.
Yeah. And so this, I think in the single, there's some footage of them here, like standing around the console.
Right.
So this is 8078, yes?
It's an 8088.
Oh, it's an 88. Okay,
It's the last board that Rupert Neve built when he still owned the company.
Beautiful console, obviously great EQs, 3110s, 2s, all the classic Neve EQ points, 45, 71, 63, 60, you know, on the high pass filter. You got your classic 60 hertz boost for your kick, your 110 for your bass, your 220 for the snare. I mean, it's the sound of rock and roll. It really is. If you want to make a classic sounding rock record, just use a console like this. Now, the photograph for Van Halen 1 and 2 was done in here, but the album was recorded in 1, is that correct?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, they often come in here to film because they just have more room to move around.
Ah.
But Van Halen did work in this room occasionally.
It's quite a big room, but it's been dampened a lot more than 1. You know?
Yes.
So it doesn't feel as big and live as 1, even though
1 is quite splashy.
Yeah. But it's also got a lot of warmth, so yeah. But this is a great, great room. And we've got 2 overdub rooms. I suppose you call them overdub rooms. Two ISO booths. 1 here, obviously the one there with the Steinway in. So here's the lounge. We haven't actually checked out the lounge yet. So lounge for Studio 2. So big screen TV, hangout, food, coffee, you name it. All right, let's head over to 3. Look how you walk in and it just feels like the epicenter of the control room here, because you've got your overdub booth here. So you put your singer in here. I quite often will put the lead singer in here, or acoustic guitar players. The console is not too big, not too small. It just feels like I love working on this console.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, this was the first room of the 3 rooms that were basically designed from the ground up with George Augspurger.
That makes sense.
George kind of adapted his designs to the existing 1 and 2 studios.
Right.
Particularly the control rooms, the monitors are his and whatever, but
right.
This one was pretty much his baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is
back in the late 70s, I guess.
I feel warm and fuzzy when I walk in here. I mean, I've made a lot of records in here, but it's just a really well-designed room. You know, you sit here, everything's around you. I love the fact that there's a lounge area. There's a lounge behind us, we'll check out in a second, but I love the fact that there's the couch down here. So the artist can be involved in it if you're tracking and stuff, like the lead singers or a couple of guys are hanging out here, but they're not behind you when you're working.
Yes.
It's really just, it's smart. You know, put the console there. If the band want to hang out here, great.
That's the thing about Studio 2. You know, the console's so close to the back wall.
Right.
That a lot of the people that like this behind the console entourage thing aren't big fans of 2.
Right.
Because it's basically enough room for the second, the engineer, and the producer.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah, this room is just really well designed with all of that stuff in mind. I love this sort of fishbowl feel. Now the console is essentially a similar but not the same design as 1.
Oh, yeah, but a much older.
So when was this put in?
You notice, I mean, these don't have like individual channels. It was all.
Yeah, this
one was put in, I believe, in 77.
Oh wow.
Maybe sooner.
Wow.
Maybe 75.
Wow.
Frank DiMedio, took the basic API architecture and 2520 cards and whatever, and you know, made this thing. That monitor section was added though when we built the Studio One console.
Oh, I see.
Because originally it was just this part of the console. That was the studio area.
Oh wow.
Out here, Audio Rents used to occupy this corner.
Oh wow.
And then when they moved out, that's when we decided to add the big tracking room.
Oh.
And we needed a monitor section. So the guys designing One's board took a 6-month break and built and designed that thing.
Oh,
and then went
great.
back to working on the studio.
This is a great monitor section. I'll do roughs from here.
It's kind of limited. I mean,
Yeah, but it's hard to beat the roughs from here.
But we had to do it quick, you know, to get back to the other main project. Yeah.
Very simple, very well laid out console. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of this console.
And our big honking, you know, colorful knobs. Yeah.
It's just
But
mind-boggling.
again, you know, this is a
straightforward.
2-bus per channel, you know, with the thumb wheels there.
Works for me.
Everything else we do through there.
Yeah. Here's the 1176s with a big TRS input here. And this is an all huge TRS patch bay. So these can just be patched from the front like this. And if you bring in a lot of floating either mic pre's or compressors or EQs, they all have the same system, so they just patch straight in. I mean, gear comes in and is patched in seconds in here. It's really well laid out. There's a little sidecar with some additional channels, so you're never really going to run out of. You've got 40 inputs, which is easily enough. Obviously, we can bring external mic pre's in as well, but that's easy enough for most tracking days. This is my favorite tracking room. This is just a great sounding room. Has a similar sort of feel to one now that I'm moving between the rooms. It's been a while since we walked from one to another, but it has a similar feel to one. We've done a lot of videos in here, probably 2 or 3 at least by now. It just sounds so good in here. And I've never flipped the panels over. I know you can do that.
They slide.
So you can get a harder sound, but I've never done it.
Yeah.
I just always sort of come in and used it. Maybe one day I'll try it.
They'll open those up when they do strings and stuff to get
I see.
more of a,
Right.
harder, airier sound.
Yeah, this is just a beautiful room. Again, Steinway. Go figure. Another room with a Steinway. I usually always put keyboard players in here anyway, to deal with my bad piano playing again, but this one's quite different to the other two. It's got a little bit more bite to it. It's a really beautiful piano. Gorgeous piano. Yeah, there's something about this piano that just tracks really well. I think every time I've done piano in this room while we're tracking drums and stuff, we've always kept it. Quickly check out here, before we go into the other overdub rooms. There's, what I love about this is where we always put the bass amp, pretty much exclusively.
Yeah, without all the stuff in it.
And guitar amps quite often go down here. There's a lot of places to put stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we're wired to record in the hallway.
Yeah, it's great to just have different stuff. Come back around.
This is the other way.
Yeah, this ISO bit is beautiful. Again, you can do pretty much everything in this. Pretty multi-purpose because you've got a couch here, so you could also,
Hang out
in
extra
here.
lounge. Yeah.
But I've done bass in here, electric guitars in here, vocals in here. When I had a lane in here, it was acoustic guitar and vocals. Paul Ill bass amp in here because we were running just piano, bass and drums with Daniel Powelter. I mean, it's a great utility, good sounding room. Yeah, this is a really good lounge. That's another thing about it. This room, like you said, is very purpose designed.
Yeah.
So, you've got a good place to hang out. Nice big screen TV.
Everything's kind of utilitarian,
Yeah. This is a really, really good room.
Yeah. This is where the machines live.
Wow.
So 2 827s and 800 and all the ATRs. Right now we've been working the last few weeks all in Pro Tools, so we just take them out of the rooms.
Well,
You know.
it's just great seeing these. I have an A80, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the class, but I don't use it that much. But the 827, I mean, this was the pinnacle of tape.
Yep.
It didn't get much better than that.
Yeah.
So here we are in the mic locker storage world. I mean, there's so much gear in here. So hiding in here is smart C2s, GML EQs, two here, Pultex EQP1As. What are all these? These empty? Oh no, these have got EQP1As and GML limiter. Some Sunset Sound mic pre's, so you can add more mic pre's. I mean, there's so much cool stuff here.
API, little racks.
Oh yeah, these are just 312s, 8 channels of API 312s. Look at all this API stuff here. Look at all these 525s. If you guys ever had a fire sale, you'd get a couple $1 million in gear.
Oh, yeah.
All blue stripes for all the aficionados that love their blue stripes. Some 165s, which of course are basically 160s with variable attack and release. To be honest, I was put auto in because I like the sound of a 160. Oh, nice. Some floating tuners. I didn't realize you had those. Now I know. So floating core tuners, that's the original ones as well, the DTR2, the one everybody wants. Now this is where Christmas comes into its own. Where do we start? I know we can cherry pick some stuff. I mean, these are all, for instance, 47 FETs. So we're talking outside kick mics, most famous outside kick mic ever. Bass guitar mic, FET 47s. This is sort of the industry standard. Doesn't matter if you're in England or America or whatever. This is what we love. This is basically a U47, but the solid state version came out in the 60s. This probably is from the 60s. A FET 47. Beautiful mic. Put it on your outside kick and you've got the sound of rock and roll. Loads of 57s, of course, for snare tops. Beautiful microphone, SM57. Just going down, U87s. It looks like we have around 10 of them. This is some original U87s. You can tell it's old because it's still called Western Germany, as opposed to Germany as they're now made in. Beautiful mics, C37s. This is definitely, they have a lot of them. They have 8 of them by the looks of it here. Sony C37s. This is a classic mic of the 60s, 50s, 60s and 70s. So many records were made on these. A lot of those. Now we're getting really, really stupidly expensive. 251s. I see 3 here. Look at that, 251. There's a reason why you come to studios like Sunset Sound, because they obviously have incredible rooms, incredible consoles, but they also have a mic collection to die for. I mean, to have 3 251s available to you, I mean, I use a pair of these on the rooms. I mean, this is a vocal mic, a room mic, and anything, like a pair on a piano. I mean, this is a beautiful, beautiful microphone, and they have a lot of them. And then, of course, the other holy grail of microphones that we all love, a U47. And this is a long body U47. Just absolutely gorgeous. I'm sure this has been on every wonderful record you can think of that was ever made here, whether it be a Stones or a Zeppelin or a Doors album. Just beautiful. So we have 6 U47s here. That is absolutely crazy. 414s, original ones. Original AKG 414s. Looks like there's quite a few of those. 421s. Great for top and bottom on toms. Beautiful microphones. This is out for repair. But that's a C24. Now C24 is a stereo C12. So that's 2 capsules on 1 microphone. Incredible on pianos. You can put it over the top of a grand piano, and a lot of classical music is recorded with the C24. Really beautiful. RE20s, that's Electro voice microphones. A lot of guys love using these. They're great on guitars, bass amps, you name it. 441s. This is a crazy microphone. Some Sennheisers. I don't use these too often, but these are, I see these every now and then being used. Wonderful microphones. Okay, here we go. Another Holy Grail. I can open it up. That is a C12. There's not many of these around, at least not the original ones. Austrian, obviously AKG C12. Tube microphone. Probably one of the best microphones for girl R&B singers because they have such great lows. They'll warm up the low end on a girl vocal. You know, it's a great pop R&B microphone for a girl. I mean, obviously used on guys as well, but pretty much a holy grail for that stuff. Oh, some 609s. Great for guitar amp cabs. I also know people that use these Sennheiser 609s on toms as well. There's a pair here. 451s. These are, a lot of them, these are great for acoustic guitars, hi-hats, you name it, small diaphragm, condenser. Really great microphone, AKG 451. You got some, got the KM series, the 84s, which are, you know, good microphones. They're the more modern. They're the more modern small diaphragm Neumanns. Pair of KM84s. Some 452s, AKG small diaphragms. Now we're getting some fun. Here we go. This is a Coles. These were BBC designed microphones. See, BBC patent. Ribbon mic, use this on an outside kick. Pretty much use this on anywhere. I've used this on overheads, even though it doesn't have that top end response. When you're in really bright, brittle rooms, the smooth sound of a ribbon like this can really, really help. Okay, Royer, this is a 122. For those that like the modern ribbons, these are the Royers. There we go. And there's also some 121s. And here is the stereo Royer, the SF12 stereo, which I've seen Dave Jordan will sometimes use as overheads or on pianos. I mean, it's an incredible collection of microphones. Like I said, it's Christmas for mics. I also know they have KM56s and 54s, but they might, because they also have Sunset Sound Factory, they might get them from the other studio, which is down the street. D12, of course, here for outside kick. For those aficionados of the original, I have one of these as well. There's a D12, which is the original. Well, it's actually not the original, because the D30, which was the large version of this, was the original kind of kick drum mic. But this is great as well, and very classic sounding. Underneath, last but no means least, we have some U67s, which is a wonderful, wonderful mic. This is a tube, large diaphragm, similar to the U87, but tube, and the predecessor to the U87. An amazing sounding mic. So the mic collection here is second to none. There's only a handful of studios in the world that have these kind of mic collections. I mean, a lot of people have a lot of mics, but they don't have a lot of German, Austrian mics to this kind of intensity. In LA, there's about 3 or 4 studios that do, and I'm sure we'll get to see them all. So a wonderful collection. Well, wonderful, Craig. I really appreciate it.
Pleasure seeing you.
I love coming here. This is one of my favorite studios I've ever been in my entire life, and I've been quite a few.
Yes, you have.
Yeah. So thank you ever so much, and please, as ever, subscribe. Go to Produce Like a Pro, sign up for the email list. There's actually a behind-the-scenes one. There's a couple we've done here, I believe, as well, so you'll see even more stuff on Sunset. So once again, thank you, and I will see you soon.
Yes, we'll see you for your next session.